Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the Mic Check Podcast. This is T Word, the People's Champ. Thanks for tapping in. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit of NFL news, and with free agency right on the horizon coming up on Wednesday, I want to talk about some last-minute free agency movement that has happened before the official period begins in terms of players who've been released or cut from their teams and where they've gone. But before we get into the video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate your feedback. So the NFL has a legal tampering period, which means that players can talk to different teams about potentially signing with them if they're to be cut, or maybe work out a trade with their current team because they're either unhappy with their deal, unhappy with the direction of the team, or just looking for a change of scenery. So when you talk about players that have been cut, that means that they're free to go and visit other people, other teams, and just talk about what they can do financially to bring them in-house. Players like Derek Carr, Jessie Bates, etc. These are guys who change teams. So we're going to go ahead and go through that list of players that have experienced a movement or re-signed. And this is going to be just a list of notable players, former Pro Bowlers, high-level players. Some of the other mid-tier roster players we're probably not going to cover just because most of you won't know who they are anyway, as do I. I'm not aware of every single player in the NFL. But without delay, let's get into it. So first on the list, you've got the Atlanta Falcons. They signed Jessie Bates. He used to play for the Cincinnati Bengals. 4-year deal worth $64 million. This is one of the notable players. He's a really good safety, a lot of range. Love the way he makes a play on the football when it's in the air, tracks it really well. This is a good pickup for him. Falcons still going to suck ass, just to say that. But I think Bates is going to be a good addition to their team. If they use him properly as a cover 2 type safety, I think he'll do really well. Occasionally, he's been fairly decent in the single high, but I think cover 2 is his strong suit. Chris Lindstrom, offensive lineman, he re-signed with the Falcons, so he didn't go anywhere. This is basically an extension. David Onyemata, former Saints player, actually went over to Atlanta, 3 years, $35 million. Probably going to be missed a little bit, but I can tell you that after his peak season, he had one good season after we extended him, and then he didn't play so good last year, and the Saints are going to need to revamp their defensive line. And based on some other moves I'm going to share with you, you'll notice that the Saints are probably looking to draft and rebuild their line from the inside out. Taylor Heineke, he's also going to Atlanta. He was up in Washington with the Commanders. He's got a 2-year, $20 million deal. So he's a $10 million a year backup because Desmond Ridder is probably their starter. Let's see. Carolina Panthers picked up a former Saints player. Tuttle signed a 3-year, $19.5 million deal. $13 million is guaranteed. They also grabbed another former Saint and Bengal, who's going to be Vonn. He's a safety. This is more of a in-the-box kind of guy. He's not great at coverage, but he's had a couple of really good years. I would say the last 3 years, his last year in New Orleans and 2 years in Cincinnati, he played really well. He got a 3-year, $22.5 million deal with $13 million guaranteed. So that's a good look for Vonn. Not sure why they got rid of him. I'm thinking they must have had another player on the roster that they feel a little better about that's going to be cheaper. The Bears have made a lot of movement as far as getting out the number 1 pick and get a lot of draft picks, and they haven't really done anything in early free agency. Let's see who else we got here. Now, they did pick up linebacker Tremaine Edmonds. He came from the Buffalo Bills, 4 years, $72 million. That's your splash deal right there, and he's one of the better linebackers in the NFL. So I expect him to kind of build around him. Speaking of Cincinnati, they signed Jermaine Pratt to an extension, 3 years, $21 million. This is a linebacker. Let's look at now. Every team's not going to get mentioned here because not everybody made a big move. The Broncos are rebuilding their offensive line. They picked up a guard and a tackle, and then they signed Jarrett Stidham as a backup quarterback. He came from the Raiders. Let's see. Moving down the list here, other notable players, the Detroit Lions re-signed Alex Anzalone. He got 3 years, $18.75 million. Another former Saint. He's pretty fast, got long flowing hair like Thor. That's kind of the nickname the Saints gave him. Now, here's something interesting. I kind of giggled at. The Houston Texans, they signed Jimmie Ward, the defensive back, used to play for the San Francisco 49ers, followed his defensive coordinator, DeMeco Ryans, to the Texans. But they also signed Case Keenum. Let me tell you how long ago Case Keenum played for the Houston Texans. He was with them when they were in the playoffs and Arian Foster was still on the team. this was like a decade ago, if not a little bit longer. Case Keenum was their starting quarterback. So this is kind of full circle. This might be a swan song for him, but he got 2 years, $6.25 million, $4 million guaranteed. He's a good steady backup, somebody that'll win you a couple games, keep you in a couple games down the stretch. All right, let's see who else we got here. Jawan Taylor signed with the Chiefs from the Jaguars. He got 4 years, $80 million. This is the offensive tackle. Jimmie Garoppolo is headed to Las Vegas to replace Derek Carr, who signed with the Saints. Jimmie got 3 years, $67.5 million. Let's see who else. And they picked up Jacoby Myers from the Patriots, 3 years, $33 million. So he's going to make $11 million a year. Kind of tells you what kind of value they have for him. Slot 2 or 3 wide receiver, somebody to complement Devontae Adams, obviously. Let's see what else we got here. Minnesota Vikings signed Marcus Davenport from the Saints. He got a 1 year, $13 million deal. Now, this was a guy the Saints moved around and got early. Very raw talent, somebody that they had high expectations for, and it just didn't work out for him, unfortunately. So they went ahead and let him walk after his rookie deal was up. So he's going to get a 1 year prove-it deal in Minnesota. And one of his biggest highlights of 2022 was actually against the Vikings. One of his rookie year highlights was actually against the Vikings, and then he got injured and missed the rest of the year. So I don't know how this is going to work out in Minnesota for him because it's not been great when he faces that team. Maybe playing for them, he'll do better. Let's see what else we got. The Patriots signed Jonathan Jones to an extension, 2 years, $20 million. So that's pretty good. Now, the aforementioned Derek Carr, he signed a 4 year, $150 million deal with the Saints, $60 million guaranteed. Essentially, this is a 2 year, $60 million deal. So he's looking to take over for Andy Dalton / Jameis Winston as a starting quarterback, and this should solidify the position and help the Saints focus on other areas such as replenishing the offensive and defensive lines, and maybe even look at some linebackers. They also re-signed Jameis Winston, 1 year, $8 million. It's basically a reworked extension contract. So he decided to stay at a discount. I think he's really comfortable in New Orleans. He also believes that he'll probably get an opportunity to play some games behind Derek Carr, and that's not bad. Jawan Johnson got a 2 year, $12 million deal to play tight end for the Saints. He's coming on converted receiver, playing tight end. Had a couple good seasons at wide receiver, at tight end. So looking for him to really have that breakout year at the position. Let's see. Not a whole lot of movement. Otherwise, Alan Lazard went to the New York Jets. He's a former Packer, and there's news that Aaron Rodgers might end up with the Jets. So maybe he's just trying to go get a soft landing before his former quarterback becomes his current quarterback in a new location. In addition, Patrick Peterson signed a 2 year, $14 million deal with the Vikings. I'm sorry, with the Steelers. His last season was with the Vikings. 66 combined tackles, 5 interceptions, 15 passes defended. For a veteran who's kind of long in the tooth like Pat Pete, that's actually pretty good. So not surprised he's continuing his career in a different location. The 49ers signed quarterback Sam Darnold. They've got Trey Lance, and they've also got Brock Purdy. So this is probably just a depth move. He got 1 year deal. There's no terms listed. Geno Smith got a big time contract from the Seattle Seahawks, 3 years, $75 million. He can make it up to $105 million with some escalators. So that's good for him. A lot of people wrote Geno off, me included, but now look at him flourishing, had a great season in Seattle. Now he's on his way. That's what Jameis Winston expected to do. It didn't happen. The Buccaneers re-signed cornerback Jamel Dean, 4 years, $52 million. And let's see, Washington Commanders signed the offensive tackle and another offensive lineman. Their combined deal is about $40 million. Not bad at all. So here's some notable free agents still out there. No franchise tag guys, just the guys who don't have a job yet. Odell Beckham Jr., James Bradbury, Garrett Bradbury, Orlando Brown Jr., DJ Chark, Fletcher Cox, Levante David, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, Mike Gesicki, Caleb McGarry, Byron Murphy Jr., Yannick Ngakoue, Jordan Poyer, Dalton Risner, Miles Sanders, Dalton Schultz, Isaac Seumalo, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Rock Ya-Sin. Now here's the franchise tag guys. You've got Saquon Barkley, Evan Ingram, Lamar Jackson, Josh Jacobs, and Tony Pollard. All those guys are likely to play on the tag and really be standout players at their position, so we'll see how it goes. But that was just our update on what NFL free agency looks like right now. There's going to be more news coming down the pipe in the next couple of days as the full free agency period opens. Let me know in the comments what you think if you're an NFL fan. This has been T-Word for the Mic Check Podcast. Until the next time, I'm out. Peace.